Now most money is in places like India and Africa. Africans and Indians are practically rolling in money. In the West, we have nothing apart from that which we keep locked in secure buildings for fear of it escaping. 67% of British school children cannot even describe the basic diagnostic features of money. There is so much money in Africa, ladies and gentlemen, that in some places they have literally taken to eating money. Once money is gone, it cannot be brought back. There is no reasonable alternative to money. Yes, dolphins are intelligent, but they live underwater, and I certainly don't fancy putting on scuba gear every time I want to see money. Friends, join with me. Fight for money. Money may not grow on trees, but I swear to you today that if we plant them, it will live on them and breed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Will. Now moving from the Cambridge camp to the Oxford camp, our next speaker is Christopher Schuller. Christopher described himself as the only communist in Tennessee for a certain amount of time. I'd like to see what else he has to say about that in relation to this speech. So, Christopher.
I'm going to stall for time for a couple of seconds by pouring water into this glass. There we go. That'll come in handy later. Mr. President, unlike the honourable member from Jesus College, apparently, we here on the Oxford side are not prostitutes. And windy though it is up here on the moral high ground, it's not so cold and lonely that I've lost sight of a number of flaws with your adorable yet wrong-headed argument. I think the honourable member has laid his dignity, a resource as rare and precious as fossil fuel in Scotland, at the feet of this house, and the least we can do here on the Oxford side is to tread on it lightly. Mr. President, if I may, a few rhythmic thrusts into the honourable member's conception of money. I'd like to start by questioning exactly what money I'm being asked to do anything for, because one doesn't really have to look further than the front pages of most newspapers these days to see that all money is not created equal, and having been raised by 10-pound notes, I'm sure that the honourable member has a very keen idea of exactly what kind of money he fancies. But Mr. President, there's a lot of money out there. If I'm being asked about the Zimbabwe dollar, which is at this moment inflating like tires in a Formula One pit crew, I think the issue begins really to be framed quite differently. If I'm being offered the weather-beaten American dollar, which at this moment is, has all the sheen and attractiveness of the Weimar-era Deutsche Mark, money doesn't begin to look so attractive. When there were Greek drachma, when there was still the Italian lira, we were the very idea of money as compensation for indignity, as compensation for being raised in the jungle, you poor sod, I'm really sorry. Really just wouldn't merit a moment's consideration. In fact, even if we're dealing with the venerable British pound, I would say that money, as money in general, is a pretty poor investment. For instance, doing anything for money, which is a charitable enterprise, I admit, you could end up with all sorts of criminal offenses on your record. And I really think that money's not much of any use to anybody if one's in jail and can't spend it. And I tend to think that the risks of capital, the risks of a big pile of money, a harem of tenors, if that's what you're into, really doesn't equal wealth tomorrow. And so I have to wonder whether stuffing big gobs of money in or on top of your mattress is really worth the risk. Inflation is a dangerous, persistent force which really compromises the value of money and leaves us all kind of wondering what we're doing. The exchange rate, I've lived in this country for 4 years. And when I arrived here, the American dollar was worth £1.63. And at the time I thought, ouch, and now I realize that those were the days, really, when my money translated into poverty in this country rather than a kind of abject starvation that I can only describe as double the price of everything. As all of our purchasing powers shrink, Mr. President, I have to wonder whether we would really do anything for the money which has served us so badly. Food and fuel now cost more money than ever. And I have to say that we've given money a lot of love. We've done a lot of things for money. We've bent over backwards in pursuit of money. We've given money attention. We've fetishized money. And money in return has left us cold and unsatisfied. The uncertainty of the future means that anyone who comes into a capital sum in exchange for, you know, doing some nasty deed nowadays, is liable to have a lot of people asking him for a piece of it. I tend to think that liquidity gives way to begging. And if all of your friends know that you're good for $1 million in cash, everyone's going to want a piece. I think I'd much rather do anything for land, which even as the housing market collapses, is worth almost 40 times what it was this time 5 years ago. I think I'd rather do anything for gold, really. I mean, think about it. You could have a number when you log into your Barclays online banking, or you could have a swimming pool full of doubloons to swim in, and I know which one I'd rather have. I think I'd rather do anything for copper. You know, 2p nowadays is worth more than 2p because the price of copper is soaring. It's a semiconductor. And I'd say if they're going to pay me to do anything in money, they need to pay me in pennies so I can melt it down and sell it to the Chinese. I think I'd quite like... I think I'd do anything for conflict diamonds. I think there's just something sort of glamorous and unethical about being somehow on the moral high ground because I've maintained my dignity by not selling out, yet also, you know, dripping in ice like some sort of tacky American rapper. I think that's really my goal in life, Mr. President. In fact, I think if we look at the capricious betrayal that money has dealt all of us, if we look at how poorly we've been served by it, if we look at the vicious backstabbing that money, when I turned George Washington into a picture of Queen Elizabeth, when I look at how little that's worth, I think it begins to be quite obvious that the only worse reason than money for doing anything is love.
Thank you, Christopher. And now we come to Jessica Barker-Ray. Now, when I asked Nate if he could think of an interesting fact about Jessica, Will had just said that he was an active crab conservationist. Nate told me Jessica was a passive crab conservationist. Anyway, Jessica.
Yeah. Listen, guys. I think you all know that this house will do anything for money. I'm here to prove that to you unequivocally. First, your problems with your argument there. It's really obvious, but you know, you're saying you wouldn't want to be, you wouldn't do anything for money because you can give it away. Well, you know, land. Have you ever heard of a spade? Yeah. You can give away like a whole sandcastle like that. Yeah. Or like just kick it at someone and give it away. Anyway. Yeah. There are many names for money. Fornication, coitus, making love, love rub, humping, banking, intercourse, shag, pumping, a nightcap, love ruckle, uncurbed enthusiasm, bonking, new wrestling. Wrong list.
Point of information. I believe the honourable member has forgotten playing Hide the Salami.
We're still on for Tuesday.
We are, in fact.
Okay. There are many synonyms for money. Money, gold, filthy lucre, dosh, coinage, cash, moolah, fliff, swag, Matthew, 50, 20 pence, £1. Some even call it a euro. Yeah, we all know fliff is what makes the world go round, so let's confine money to money as understood by us sock-wearing, wallet-wanging wangers. Okay? But ladies and gentlemen, I think we have missed the point, okay? The point being, not whether the world will do anything for money, but whether this house will do anything for money. And this house really will do anything for money. Let me dance.